I think in general, this is a pretty, it's been an awesome experience creating this album with our new vocalist. It's kind of, my brain's gone all, it's like.
It's all right, I can answer this if you want.
you go in. I'll be ready by number 2. You're the conceptual man.
I'd say it's the most Monuments album that Monuments has done. It sounds like one complete piece of work, more so than previous albums. And I'd say that it's definitely more song-based on this record. Like, we really honed in individually on the songs to try and get we wanted an album basically of bangers. So we really honed in on making sure that there was no filler songs, and we just wanted all round, every song could be a single if we wanted it to be. It sounds a lot less complicated than it is.
Yeah. No, not like that.
Totally.
Yeah, I think so. It definitely, we wrote it all. I mean, we didn't see Andy until the album was finished, so his involvement was completely remote. We were working with a co-producer, Mick Gordon, in Australia, sending him stuff. Me and Brown we were talking about it the other day, we only probably spent like maybe 7 weeks total actually being in the same place, actually.
If that actually as well.
Literally, yeah, I was just thinking about all the little sessions from, it's probably less, it's probably more like 5 weeks over like 3 sessions, like, or something like that. So yeah, but the concept of the record is of being stuck in the middle of 2 opposing forces. So I guess you can read that as like, I think it was kind of art imitating life in that sense, I guess.
It's definitely not about the pandemic, but I'd say that the pandemic influenced its direction, because we didn't actually write really anything during the pandemic. It's only when we could actually go and get a coffee or, see each other that it was like, all right, we should probably get on with this now. We've had 1.5 years of sopping around, let's write a fucking album. It was so easy with him. Like, we would send over songs. He would say, oh, can you change this bit, and this bit? And then I'll get started on the vocals. And that would also be the same mindset that he would have if he sent over something as well. So it was a lot of back and forth in a positive way, where it's something that we've not been able to do on previous records, actually, where we'd write the music and it'd go off to the vocalist and that would be the music completed. But this time we would finish the music, get the vocals, and then amend more stuff after that point. So we were able to create an entire piece of music rather than having music with vocals over the top. So we could change parts of the instrumentation depending on what the vocals were doing. And that played a huge part in especially like the chorus of Cardinal Red, as well as multitudes of other places on the album that I can't even remember because we did it so much. The things would just change all the time. We would like back and forth constantly within days of each other. Sometimes even not a whole day had gone past and a new idea was presented. And I think that that was a really good way to work. And that's why Andy's so great at what he does. He can record his own vocals. He can send ideas quickly. He has ideas quickly, and he's willing to have those ideas changed. And that's a really positive way to be, like not being scared of letting the musicians in your band make suggestions, which I'm going to be upfront here. And I've definitely had that problem in the past, because I think we get, a little bit demoitis in our brains that it has to be this way. I love it this way. But I think that being open to changing things from people that maybe don't play the same instrument is positive for the direction in which an album can go. And I think you can hear that on this album. Like Mike played a huge part in changing a lot of the drums as well. I changed some parts on the guitars. What are you going to say, Mike? Sorry.
Oh, no, it's all good. It was just essentially mirroring what you were saying, but only adding in that as we had quite a big lineup change, we had to kind of go back to our roots and how we initially started working musically together. And I think as we kind of discovered that we could collaborate on an entirely new level where we could actually send the music between each other at what we would say is like, we would always try to get it perfect in the past and then send it. This time we were like just sending it as it was, still kind of feeling like, I think this is shit, but I'm going to pass it on. And like, the more we did that, the more confidence we gained, the more confidence I could gain as a musician to throw stuff in. And I think it was the same for Andy. He threw in loads of like actual musical instrumental changes all over the place. It's the first time, I think, I mean, even though Chris was so good at, you know, being a musician himself, he never really like provided changes or ideas on how to change notes, rhythms in the guitars or drums or anything. Whereas Andy really looked at it as a whole, which I think made a huge difference. But mainly that ability to send imperfect material back and forth, leaving space and trusting people to fill the space, completely changed it. I don't want to go back. It could be interesting as a thing to see what it would be like to write stuff where we try to complete instrumentals. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, nah, let's just stick with this. Is good. Stick with this. This works.
Yeah, okay. This is definitely a better working environment. It just creates a better product. Basically.
Yeah. Also, we've never done it so focused before. We're going like, okay, we're going to hand this in 6 months. Okay, go.
It was actually 4 months.
Well, we had already been doing it for a few months at that point when we got to that date. We were kind of trying to get it for roughly that time beforehand, but it was, I think that's the thing that's made it sound the most like a singular piece of work, is that we were just in the same headspaces throughout that entire time. I think that really helped. I mean, I know that the stress almost fucking killed us, but I think it was worth it, to be honest.
It is funny because speaking of that stress, I've had that for every record, actually.
Yeah.
I'd be the one, obviously, that would write the majority of the music beforehand. And this release date or the hand-in date from the label came in. And obviously it was mostly on my shoulders in the past to actually get it completed for this date, or at least get it delivered to the vocalist, do the vocals, or get it ready for the studio so everyone could record their parts. But this time it felt like I could remove that weight on my shoulders because I knew that there was Andy and Mike there to pick up the pieces when it was getting too stressful, and vice versa. Yeah, so funny enough, so the first Doom came out and I fanboyed basically, and I decided it was good to send Mick an email to tell him how great he was. So I did. And funnily enough, he actually responded back within 24 hours saying, dude, I absolutely love your music. And to me, that was like quite humbling, because I saw Mick all the way up there because he created this piece of music that is, in fact, timeless. Yeah. When anyone now will think of Doom, that's what's going to be in their mind. Like, obviously, E1M1, the original, you know, sound of the the early Doom, everyone remembers that. But I think now that his sound is encapsulated within that franchise. And so, yeah, I mean, that kind of style is quite similar in many ways to what we do. It's a lot more industrial, but he understands what our sound is about from that soundtrack. But we didn't want him to recreate that soundtrack either, and nor did he, you know. So we gave him complete freedom to do whatever he wanted. We said to him, here's the track. Any suggestions you have, we're open ears. Just do what you think would enhance this track. And it allowed him just to have some creative freedom. And he was actually mentioning to me that, you know, if he's working on video games for X amount of years, he becomes physically exhausted and mentally exhausted from it. So when a band comes up and asks him to do this, it's almost like a breath of fresh air to him, and little pockets of inspiration, as he put it. And it was just a really easy process. Again, he would offer suggestions. We'd try them. We'd say, we like that. We hate that. And he'd be like, cool, go back to the drawing board. Let's try something else. Very easy to work with. And I'm just really stoked that he was able to do it, because you can hear Mick all over the album. It's very noticeable if you take it away, it sounds empty. If you put it back, it sounds like a whole complete picture that's been harmonically put together in this really beautiful way through use of synths, strings, and a multitude of other things that he used to create these sounds. Really?
Damn, that was a complete accident.
Yeah. No. No, nope. So I didn't know that the Runtime was the longest album. I know that we have discussed, well, I've maybe talked to the wall myself about how I think that an album should be the average car journey in length, being that, you know, 45 minutes is a good album length to me. I think the moment that you start approaching an hour, you never actually finish an album when you're in a car. So to me, that is too long. I know that's a really weird way to think about it, but at that point, I'd probably split it into 2 albums, because then you can put one or the other, as long as they sound different enough to each other, you know. So the long Runtime was totally by accident, and that the longest song was also totally by accident, because Mick adds 2 or 3 minutes to the end of that song, with his orchestral arrangement and his, you know, soundscaping, which actually really finishes off the album in a really cool way. Yeah. Funnily enough, I'm going to say this now, there was actually meant to be another song after that, and I couldn't bring myself to finish it because I didn't really enjoy it. But maybe one day we'll finish that song, Mike. Hey,
I'd like to. Yeah, people in our team who were working with us, they all really enjoyed that song as an ending, and I think Cimmerian probably would have then not been as long, because the concept that we gave Mick was that we wanted to do something like I did with the song Samsara on the Amanuensis, where the final piece of music closes the record harmonically and restarts it so it becomes loopable. Because I just really love that when track 10 can go into track 1, and then as it comes back in, it's kind of like subconsciously led you in. And then if you've accidentally repeated it, like a lot of people do with CD players and with just leaving repeat on in their streaming software, you come back and you hear the first song again, but you've got new context, and so it sounds like it's leveled up a bit, and it kind of encourages to like come back and look for more Easter eggs on repeat listens. And that's why it's really cool that you've listened through it twice, because you've probably, I don't know if you literally went from track 10 directly back to track 1, or you did it in 2 separate sessions. But I really love how an album can exist many times over and have many different faces. Well, that was Andy's idea, because we didn't know what he was going to write, when he was going to write it, and then as his writing was coming together, he left some gaps intentionally in places where he wanted to invite singers on, and then he said, "Right, I want to get some other vocalists involved," and we said, "Who do you want?" And he, without any hesitation, just said Spencer, because Spencer's been a huge inspiration to him, and for him, he really wanted to offer him that opportunity, especially knowing that he'd done the Monument stuff before. He knew it was possible, and he just really wanted to trade off with him on that. And it's an amazing feature that Spencer did. Me and Brown have both filled in for Periphery in the past when members have had injuries, so we had a really good communication and kind of a long-term friendship with Spencer as well. So it was really easy to, just like with Mick, it was basically, I sent him an Instagram message, he went, "All right." So that was it. With Nima, though, it was different. He was asking me a lot about featuring on other bands. He really wanted to make music with people. He just wanted to collaborate, was really thirsty for it. So he was saying, "Hey, can you ask your friends, does anyone need a vocalist?" I was putting out posts on my Facebook, etc. And then we had that conversation, and I was like, I think the stars might align here. We might be able to bring him back because we put out an EP before our first album called We Are the Foundation. So it's really nice that now that's kind of like a Nima sandwich, or Nima's the bread. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the good news, like, you know, Nima's vocals are very unique. Like, I can't really think of anyone else that sounds like Nima. And the moment, not only vocally but rhythmically too, his ideas are really unique to him. Something that I'm quite fortunate that I was there from the beginning to actually witness that. And you know, it's sad how it ended with Nima and all of us. Obviously, we really enjoyed his vocals and always will. And just being able to get a little snippet of that back from the original Monument's core sound, it was just great to invite him back and know that he did an absolutely killer job on it as well. And hopefully one day he'll be able to get on stage with us and do that part as well, because that'll be pretty sick too.
Yeah.
Same with Spencer, obviously, but Spencer's
we've
been on
got to
stage
play
with-
that. We've got to play that song when we come through Europe because he's in Germany. We've got to add that song to the set list.
Yeah, we
sure.
definitely do. Yeah.
I'm not going to stop saying we have to do that one. I love playing that. I know it's going to be like the admit defeat that you never want to play, but I really, really want to play.
Don't blame me for that. No, I actually do want to play that one. That one's actually.
I just thought you open a song with an 8-string riff and it's like, nah, I'm not interested anymore.
No, not always. Not always.
I know. I'm being unfair. I'm being mean.
Yes, he's being mean. Well, the tabs actually don't go live until the album release date, which is the 15th. It's a pre-order currently. But over the years, we noticed that Monument's tabs were generally 99.9% wrong. So we decided to change that by actually releasing the tabs of our albums. And, you know, we do play in a weird tuning. Mike has his isms on the drums that are very unique to him as well. And I think being able... Yeah, ADHD. And I think being able to offer that to people that really want to get into the depths of what's going on harmonically, structurally, and, you know, just wanting to be able to play that stuff. I mean, I'm not telling them that it's easy because it really isn't. It's hard. It's one of the things that I've been questioning for the past few years. It's like, in 10 years, am I physically in my body going to be able to play a bunch of this stuff? Mm-hmm. It's like how James Hetfield now doesn't downpick all of Master of Puppets live.
Yeah.
And there's definitely points where I've actually, you know, so just having that on record for my sake as well, so that I know what I played once upon a time is a good thing too, you know, so it kills two birds with one stone.
Yeah, we have a lot of musicians as fans. So
yeah, as well.
We used to do a lot of playthrough videos and people would always be like, this is great, but I want the tab. We were like, well, here's the tab. There you go.
Fourth try, technically. Yes.
Yes, last time was the third time. So
yeah, last time was the third time. So the first 2 times with visa issues. And then the third time we paid for the visa and then didn't get the money back because of COVID. That was great. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was a nightmare.
Yeah, but it's yes, it's actually been rebooked and will be announced really soon. Full North American tour
with Canada
and North America. I said North America. You see, I'm nice. You see, because I included Canada in that.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Sorry, no Alaska though. But yeah, sorry. Yeah, so it is rebooked. It will be announced soon. And we decided, in fact, funnily enough, we actually had to turn down a pretty large tour recently that we were offered in America because we were like, we need to fulfill this tour because we've cancelled it 3 times before because of different reasons. So yeah, we actually turned down a rather large support slot in order to make this tour happen. So anyone that's listening out there, then please come and see us when the dates are announced, because that would be really, really nice. We have plans. Whether or not those plans happen is another thing. We have
ideas. I mean, it isn't lost on us, but we don't want to interrupt the potential growing tour cycle of how the album can go by doing something like a 10-year anniversary thing, whatever that may be. And it looks like we were right not to jump in on something, because if we had other opportunities that are potentially presenting themselves around the world at the end of the year, we might then not be able to just kind of do that. And we're exploring more options around the world at the moment. Obviously, everything is much harder to book than it used to be. I think we really took that for granted in the past. But if it means that we hit the 11th year and we still want to do it in between cycles, we'll just make up something about how 11 is a more important number or something. I'm sure.
Maybe we'll do a picture of an amp that goes to 11 and then we'll be dressed as Spinal Tap.
That would be great.
There we go. I've got it. I've got it.
You've done
I've got
it.
the marketing. I'm a fucking genius. I've got it. But it goes to 11.
It goes to 11. Yeah, this is my point. It was always going to be 11. We were never going to go for 10.
Yeah, never go for 10. I mean, in fact, the amp I'm using on tour goes to 11. Yes. Sorry, a little bit off topic there. But
no problem. No problem.
There did it become a running joke?
Because it became just a joke, yeah. Like, so the first album, Gnosis, and then we were like, and then Swanee presented Gnosis, and then the second album was complete, and he was like, how's about we call it the Amanuensis? So then after the second record, we're like, should we continue this cis theme on? And a lot of words in Greek social constructs, let's say, often end in the word cis. So there's phronesis, gnosis. I'm going to name two more now. Eisegesis, exegesis. There's a bunch of social constructs that the Greeks were really like advanced on. I'm talking ancient Greeks, think gladiator era Greece. A lot of these social constructs are brought up, and quite often or not, our music talks about problems that involving all that stuff. Like, that's why phronesis was called what it was. And even though in stasis isn't really Greek or the amanuensis, it's always been about something to do with a social construct. And often or not, I find myself venturing down those rabbit holes of reading into those social constructs of Greece, which then influences an album. We go down there. But generally, the cis word became an inside joke with the band after the second album. We just decided to run with it because why not? I mean, if we can find a word that describes an album, and we don't necessarily go out to try and find it. It's more just the fact that makes a lot of sense what we're talking about. So we should name the album that, and we will have another word that no one can pronounce.
Yeah, for Brown, the concept comes first. So if there's then a word that sums that up in a way that, like, and I know that Brown loves to mention that it's like the humanity worked these things out before. Nothing that we're doing now is new in basically any way. You can look backwards and find out all of that stuff has already happened, and these words, they really encapsulate that mentality because they're ancient terms for ancient things that have already happened that we're just rediscovering in essence, and that inspires them a lot.
There's a song that also again, it went down a Greek rabbit hole for the song on Gnosis called Doxa, and I was so that song was written about believing things because someone else does, like, not really thinking for yourself and like just believing in something because someone says that's what you should believe. So then I go down the rabbit hole of the internet trying to find how to explain that without saying belief through common opinion. And all of a sudden we're back in Greece and they had a word for it. Amazing. Doxa.
And then it turned out it was a luxury watch company that everyone wants to wear because everyone wants to wear it. And it's like, hang on a minute, that's a bit fucking...
And also, they also changed the meaning of the word doxa in Greece later on as well. It actually turned out that they wanted it to mean glory. So, things you learn.
Interesting.
Keep reading, everyone. Every time we've been to Quebec, which I think is twice, we've definitely played Quebec. We played it on the Glass Cloud tour, actually.
I remember it, yeah.
Okay.
Did we play there with... We didn't play there with Devin, though, did we?
It was probably the 2014 tour, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty certain that we might have played with the Contortionist there too.
Either way, we miss you and we miss your wonderful poutine.
No, I'm fairly certain that we played Quebec with the Contortionist.
Well, thank you guys.
We did. See,
I trust you.
we played at Foo Phones.
Yes, that's in Montreal. Yeah, Foo Electric.
Oh, really? That's in.
It's not Quebec City.
It's not. So we played Quebec City
it's Quebec.
So we played Quebec City once. There we go.
Okay.
Perfect. Looking forward to having a beer with you, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, and thank you, and all the best to you and your your fellow team, and we'll hope to see you later on in the year. Fingers crossed it all works.
Yeah, I hope so. Thank you, guys. See you later.
Merci.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Au revoir. Bye.